And now, thank you for our last spot. We have Research in Diversity, Equity and Inclusion with Mastercard and Bank of America. So, thank you, Manuel, April, and Tina. Welcome. How are you doing?
Great.
Good.
Yeah. So, tell us about yourself and tell us about the research that you've done.
I'll start. My name is April Jeffries. I am our global president at Ipsos, and we've been working with some of our clients about DEI and the importance of diversity and inclusion in our organizations. Our two clients, Bank of America and Merrill, have both taken it on very much in a positive way, and we've been really happy to work with them on several projects.
What have been the challenges with this research? It's a very open question.
I'd say there's three challenges for an organization as they take this kind of stuff on. The first one is there's a notion of a zero-sum game, right, where people think they have to lose in order to give to someone else. And the truth is, to do DEI correctly, that's not the case. It is actually better for everybody. The other one I'd say is you have to see it through. You can't just talk about it. And the third is you have to be authentic. You have to really tie it back to who you are, what your business is, what your mission and purpose is, and those kind of things will keep you on the right path so you don't get into trouble as you're doing it. You guys want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll add to that. Hi, Tina Chang, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, and I'm a director with the Strategic Growth Markets Group at Merrill. And to what April was saying, I'll take it to the client level. So in the wealth management industry, it historically has been an industry that likes to speak in jargon. It prides itself on intellectual capital, but it doesn't really make it easy for people to understand what it is that wealth management is or does or how it benefits clients. And I think what we do with some of the research is, one, understand what it is that our diverse clients and prospects what their priorities are, what's important to them, and then reframing how we think about delivering messages out to these clients and to clients as a whole through that lens, and really bringing wealth management to them and teaching them why it's important to have a financial plan or even think about having a financial plan. And so the challenge is breaking through what the perception of wealth management was and making it more accessible to people everywhere.
So,
You're going to answer the next one.
Yeah, I have no choice. What were you going to ask? What were you going to ask?
So, more about like the initiative. How has it impacted the organization?
Yeah, so, well, Manuel Garcia, I'm global leader of neuroscience at Ipsos, and I also, with here my dear friend April Jeffries, we co-lead an employee resource group in anti-racism at Ipsos in the United States. So we run with a bunch of amazing leaders, a lot of initiatives in diversity and inclusion. And that's been happening since summer 2020. Not going to explain why, because probably everyone knows. But the impact in the organization is like pretty visible. So diversifying the workforce or increasing the diversity in the workforce, it's like an obvious, one step, but that's definitely not enough. It's very important that everyone knows that their voice is being heard for several reasons. So once, because we want our talent and ourselves to be happy where we are, but also because we need that input, because we all know all the benefits of diversity. As April was saying before, this is not a zero-sum game. Increasing equality and increasing diversity is something that benefits everybody. So, and another big impact that I think we've done in the organization by creating all of these initiatives is keeping DEI top of mind on everything we do, because we do have a bunch of people that volunteer their time to all of these initiatives. So that, it's good for very obvious reasons, and also generates a lot of business and a lot of knowledge, and we also try to get to make some impact outside the organization. So for instance, because we have like so much data, right, at Ipsos. So for instance, we have these POVs that have been coming out since 2020, and there are a lot, so like people could find it if you Google diversity and inclusion, Ipsos, and there are a lot of those, and try to also make an impact outside. And I said a lot of things. Someone else want to say something?
Yep. Feel free to add.
I think from an organizational perspective too, when you think about where you have your D&I sit, at Merrill, we have the group that I'm part of, Strategic Growth Markets. It's actually part of the line of business, the revenue producing line of business, versus in like marketing or HR that you'll see in other groups, which we do partner very closely with. But our team, which focuses on women and diverse communities, does sit within the line of business. So we have a critical line of sight into what the business is doing, and then the business in turn has a DEI lens on initiatives as well. And so we think about how our work has an impact to the wealth management business as a whole, and they have to think about how their work impacts diverse communities and how they think about initiatives that are brought forth, making sure that we are inclusive in everything that we do.
So you've generated a lot of momentum with this, and the question, how do we continue with this? How do you continue with it, and how would other organizations, brands, agencies, or people continue with the conversation and create a more diverse, equitable, inclusive world? Big question.
So I think we keep the conversation going and making sure that, like you said, we don't lose momentum on it. It's not something that's a one-time thing. Transformation doesn't happen overnight. So pushing forward, it is a long game. And despite what may be trendy, making sure that we do keep a lens on D&I and pushing forward and making sure that we bring voices that may not typically be heard to the forefront to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, I would add to that, yes, it's a long game, but also it's a short game. We don't have a lot of time, and my fear is we had a lot of attention to this, 2 years ago. And I don't want that to die down. I think we need to see it through. I think we need to treat it like any other strategic imperative that we have. And I think we need to put our best minds and thinking against how to really solve the problem. So long game, but also we got to get it done.
Yeah, I'm probably repeating, but I want to emphasize that it needs to be a proactive effort. That it's because I want to think the impact that's already been made would somehow remain, but the conversation is not going to continue by itself. So we need in every organization to have actual structures in place that are going to proactively push the conversation and push this progress, because it will not happen if there doesn't exist, and that means humans who are dedicated to push and progress on these initiatives to make sure that they don't die down, because they would die down if there's no one pushing.
Absolutely. So also, diversity and inclusion has been in conversation for a long time, and however, I've noticed that equity is now a huge part of it, which for obvious reasons. And in the terms of wealth management, how important is equity in diversity and inclusion?
Well, so when we think about wealth management and the changing face of wealth management, we do notice that the complexion of wealth is changing. So as far as making sure that we understand what our diverse client needs are, understanding what their priorities are, super important, because what worked 10, 15, 20 years ago will not necessarily work now, because client needs back then and the clients that we were servicing back then versus who we're servicing now and who we want to target as our target clients, because wealth is changing, is very different. So I think understanding and bringing wealth management and financial planning and understanding having clients understand what a financial plan is and bringing that to everybody is critically important in closing the racial wealth gap, especially as we see again that the complexion of wealth is changing. So bringing that all together is important.
That is true, but the wealth gap is there, right?
It is there,
and it's huge. And it doesn't look like it's getting a whole lot better in the near term. So it is something that we're going to have to really try to address, because it makes a difference, right? It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I can add to that if you want. Yeah, I think so. It's very important to keep the concept of equity in mind, because if the end goal is equality is treating everyone the same is not going to get there, because we're not at the same starting point. Because, as April said, the wealth gap is huge, and I think data shows that it's actually increasing in the past 2 years, which is not what we would be expecting since this conversation is going. So I think it's important to have the concept of equity, like the end goal is equality, and we're not at the same starting point, and that's something that needs to be addressed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been very fascinating, and really enjoyed reading your paper, and looking forward to hearing more from you. So thank you very much for coming, Manuel, April, and Tina. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
And enjoy Congress. You coming to the gala?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I'll see you there.